Dear students, today we are going to study in brief about the coveted place of Vallabhacharya, who was a pioneer poet and saint in Bhakti movement. While throwing light on the contribution of Vallabhacharya, some basic and general questions which often come to our mind are: from which region of India Vallabhacharya hailed, during which period his work and thought philosophy influenced the Bhakti movement, what are his significant literary contributions, his teachings are placed on which principles, and how he was instrumental in bringing about a change in the spiritual, philosophical and social perspectives of India during his lifetime. Vallabhacharya was a devotional philosopher who founded the PUSHTI sect in India. Following the philosophy of Shuddha Advaita means pure non-dualism. According to him, it is by God's grace alone that one can obtain release from bondage and attain Krishna's heaven. This heaven is far above the heavens of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. For Krishna is the eternal Brahman. Vallabhacharya called his school of thought Shuddha Advaita or pure monoism. Vallabhacharya accepted the Acharya designation of Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, upon request of Bilmangala Acharya, the last Vishnu Swami Sampradaya Acharya before Vallabhacharya. This was after Vallabhacharya won the famous debate of Brahmavada over Shankaras in the courtyard of the Emperor Krishna Deva Rai of Vijayanagara Empire, the prosperous South Indian Empire. Apart from being the Acharya of Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, Vallabhacharya also propagated the Pushti Marg upon the God Krishna's order and thus became the Acharya of not only Vishnu Swami Sampradaya but also Pushti Sampradaya. He is the Acharya and Guru within the Vaishnav traditions as promulgated and prescribed by the Vedanta philosophy. He is associated with Vishnu Swami, a prominent Acharya of Rudra Sampradaya, out of the 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. Within Indian philosophy, he is known as the father of Anubhashaya, a commentary on Brahma Sutra, Sudash Granth or 16 Shrotas, tracts and several commentaries on the Bhagavad Puran, which describes the many leelas or pastimes of the avatar Krishna. Vallabhacharya occupies a unique place in Indian culture as a scholar, philosopher and devotional bhakti preacher. He is widely considered as the last of the great Vaishnav Acharyas, who established the various Vaishnav schools of thought based on Vedantic philosophy. The other 3 preceding him being Ramanujacharya, Mahadevacharya and Nimbarkacharya. He is especially known as a lover and a propagator of Bhagavad Dharam. He was born in Champarnya in India. Vallabhacharya was a Tailang Brahmin. He preached the worship of Vishnu in the form of Krishna. He visited Mathura, Vrindavan and many other sacred places and finally settled in Varanasi. Now we are going to discuss his childhood. The ancestors of Vallabhacharya lived in Andhra Pradesh and belonged to a long line of Telugu Vediki Brahmins known as Vilanadu or Vilanatya, following the Vishnu Swami school of thought. According to devotional accounts, Krishna commanded his ancestor Yagnanaran Bhatt that he would take birth in their family after completion of 100 Soman Yagnas, means fire sacrifices. By the time of Yagananaran descended Lakshmana Bhatt, who migrated to the holy town of Varanasi. The family had completed 100 Soma Yagnas. Vallabhacharya was born to Lakshman Bhatt in 1479 AD on the 11th day of the dark half of lunar month of Chaitra at Champarni. The name of his mother was Ilamma. The period surrounding Vallabhacharya's birth was a tumultuous, and most of northern and central India was being influenced by Muslim invaders. It was common for populations to migrate in order to flee from religious persecution and conversion. On such occasion, Lakshman Bhatt had to urgently move out of Varanasi with his pregnant wife. Due to terror and physical strain of the flight suffered by the mother, there was a premature birth of the child 2 months in advance. As the child did not show signs of life, the parents placed it under a tree wrapped in a cloth. It is believed that Krishna appeared in a dream before the parents of Vallabhacharya and signified that he himself had taken birth as the child. According to popular accounts, the parents rushed to spot and were amazed to find their baby alive and protected by a circle of divine fire. The blessed mother extended her arms into the fire unscathed. She received from the fire the divine baby gleefully to her bosom. The child was named Vallabha, meaning dear one in Sanskrit. Now we are going to discuss Vallabhacharya's education. Vallabhacharya's education commenced at the age of 7 with the study of 4 Vedas. He acquired mastery over the books expounding the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. He also learnt philosophical systems of Adi Shankara, Ramanuj, Madhava, Nimbarka along with the Buddhist and Jain schools. He was able to recite 100 mantras not only from beginning to end but also in reverse order. At Venkateshwara and Lakshmana Balaji, he made a strong impression on the public as an embodiment of knowledge. He was now applauded as Bala Saraswati. Now we are going to discuss Vallabhacharya's victory at Vijayanagar. At the behest of the great Tuluva king Krishna Deva Rai, a sensational debate was conducted at Vijayanagar between the Vaishnavites of Madhava and Shankarites over the philosophical question whether God is dualistic or non-dualistic. Vallabhacharya participated in the discussion, considering it as a divine call. Vallabhacharya, who had earned an epithet of Bala Saraswati, was given the opportunity to discuss the question. The discussion continued for 27 days in the conference hall. The day of victory for Vaishnavas was celebrated with great pomp at Vijayanagar. He was honoured with the Kanak Abhishekam ceremony by Krishna Deva Rai. The title of Acharya and Jagadguru, world preceptor, was conferred on him. He was given vessels of gold weighing 100 mudras. Vallabhacharya declined to accept them politically but distributed them among the poor Brahmins and the learned only after keeping only 7 gold mohurs. They were used for preparing the ornaments of their god Govardhanath. Now we are going to discuss Vallabhacharya's pilgrimage to India. Vallabhacharya performed 3 pilgrimages of India barefooted. He wore a simple white dhoti and a white covering with upper part of his body known as Uparnavarna. Literally means upper cloth in Sanskrit. He gave discourses on Bhagavata. He looked very brilliant, bright, and his body depicted magnificent brilliance as a celibate. He gave discourses on Bhagavata at 84 places and explained the subtle meanings of Hindu Puranic text. Even during present day, these 84 places are visited by thousands of Hindu pilgrims and are referred to as 84 Baithak. He used to stay in Varaja for 4 months in each year. Now we are going to discuss the selection of Vallabhacharya as an Acharya. In the traditional Vedantic belief, an Acharya, the leader of the spiritual preceptors, is one who has written his personal views and comments on the Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. Shankaracharya, Nimbarkacharya and Madhavacharya had written their comments and obtained the designation of Acharya. People then addressed him as Shri Vallabhacharya. Now we are going to discuss Vallabha's marriage and family life. Shortly before or after this event, Vallabhacharya married at Banaras a Brahmin girl by name Mahalakshmi. Vallabhacharya, like the other reforming Vaishnavas of the day, seems to have taught that marriage and family were no hindrance to religious life and set an example in himself. 2 sons were born of this marriage. The first, named Gopinath, being born in 1511 AD, and the second, Vithalnath ji, born in 1516 AD in the village of Parvat. Vallabhacharya himself educated both his sons, thus fitting them for their work as his successors in preaching the Vaishnavite cult. At Banaras, Vallabhacharya seems to have divided his time between Banaras and Vrindavan, partly residing at one place and partly at another. At first, his Vaishnavite gospel could have found little following in the city of Banaras, seat of Shaivism as it was and of Advaitic learning. Now we are going to discuss the establishment of Pushti Margam, literally the path of grace. It is believed that when Vallabhacharya entered Gokul, he thought about the important question of restoring people to the right path of devotion. He meditated on Krishna, who appeared to him in a vision in the form of Srinathji deity discovered by Madhavendra Puri, and disclosed the Brahma Sambandh, Sanskrit for relation with Brahman, the supreme Godhead, a mantra of self-dedication or consecration of self to Krishna. During that time, Damodar Dasa was sleeping next to him. In the early morning, Vallabhacharya related this experience to his worthiest and most beloved disciple, Damodar Dasa, and asked him, Damala, did you hear any voice last night? Damodar Dasa replied that, I heard something but was not able to understand the meaning of it. Vallabhacharya then explained the meaning of the mantra, and at that time he became the first Vaishnav initiated by Vallabhacharya. He wanted to preach his message of devotion to God and God's grace called Pushti Marg. He undertook 3 pilgrimages of India. He performed the initiation ceremony of a religious rite by conferring on them Nam Nivedana Mantra or Brahma Sambandh Mantra. Thousands became his disciples, but 84 devoted servants are most famous, and their life has been documented in Pushti Marg literature as the story of 84 Vaishnavas. He also met Vyas in his Himalayan cave and discussed about Krishna and his flute. Now we are going to discuss his last days. Vallabhacharya spent the last years of his life at Banaras, surrounded by his family and disciples and composing the numerous works which now bear his name and are the chief authority of his sect. In writing these works, mostly commentaries and short philosophical or devotional treatises, Vallabhacharya seems to have been aided by some scholars, perhaps his disciples. These works embody Vallabhacharya's special version of the Vaishnavite philosophy and his notions of worship and spiritual training. His cult and doctrines resemble a great deal those of the contemporary Chaitanya. At the age of 52, Vallabhacharya closed his days in the city of Banaras. Most legendary accounts, as usual, are given of this event. It is said that having accomplished his mission, he entered the Ganges at Hanuman Ghat, and when stooping into the water, passed out of sight. A brilliant flame arose from the spot, and in the presence of a host of spectators, he ascended to heaven and was lost in the firmament. The last place where he made his dwelling is said to be Jethan Bir at Banaras, near which a mutt still subsists. Now we are going to discuss the literary work of Vallabhacharya. The chief works of Vallabha are the following. A few of them are too small, and a few, including Vyasa and Jaimini Sutra Bhashyas, are perhaps present. Vallabhacharya composed many philosophical and devotional books during his lifetime, such as Anubhashya or Brahma Sutra Anubhashya, 4 cantons of commentaries on the Brahma Sutra of Ved Vyas in Sanskrit language, Tattvaarth Dip Nibandh, essays on the fundamental principles of spirituality, 3 chapters in Sanskrit language, Jaimini Sutra Bkaahya in Sanskrit language, Siddhanta Bhashya embodying the principles and doctrines of the sect in Sanskrit language, Suhadhini, a commentary embodying great learning on the first 4 adhyayas of the 10th skand of the Bhagavad Puran in Sanskrit language, Navbatna in Braj Bhasha, Krishna Acharya in Braj Bhasha, Bhaiti Vardhini in Braj Bhasha. Now we are going to discuss the teachings of Vallabhacharya. One should be a good and religious person, not a God-fearing man, but a God-loving man. Always speak the truth. Be just and honest to all. Treat all persons equally. One should have faith in God Krishna and surrender yourself to Him. Be charitable and never harm the hungry and the weak. Realize that service to men and animals is service to God. One should believe that Krishna is our God and never slacken your faith in Him, and then He will surely protect you. One should regard Him as the be-all and end-all of our life. One's ultimate good lies in serving Him, which should be done with all one's heart, mind and soul. Trust in His protection. Remember Him always in all thoughts, words and deeds. Be free from sorrows and anxieties concerning your future, for all you are safe in my Lord Krishna's hands. Only you should love me with the love of gopis. If you do so, then you will surely secure liberation. This is the only means of union with me by which you will regain your original divine nature. Do not give your thoughts to worldly matters. Be devoted to one and render service to me by all means of your disposal. In the conclusion, we can say the message that flows through the teachings of great philosopher, thinker and saint Vallabhacharya exhort us to achieve humanistic values like humility, honesty, straightforward thinking, simple living and performing one's worldly duties with merriment in the heart and a smile on the face. Shying away from one's duties towards self, family, society and country is a sign of weakness and cowardice. One should bravely face the miseries and difficulties of life and should stand firm in his resolve to obey the latent messages of the Creator and should respectfully abandon oneself to his wishes. It is one's sacred duty to avoid unnecessary rituals and should wholeheartedly dedicate oneself to the upliftment of fellow human beings through words and actions.